Hello and welcome to another Houdini tutorial. This is part 2 of Houdini Foundations. This is the third text in the Houdini Foundations called Nodes, Networks, and Digital Assets. And this is part 2 of that series, copying bricks to a point cloud. So with all that said, we have our project from last time and let's get started. So again, we're working with single brick 1. That's our project brick. And in our scene view, we're gonna press tab and type in test. And we're gonna look for test geometry rubber toy because it should be in our directory. And press enter. And now we're just gonna press enter again to place it at the origin. Now we have some massive blue mass. We're gonna press spacebar H just to view it from a comfortable angle. And you can see that we've added a test geometry rubber duct object to our network. So we're just going to place that under single brick 1 for now. So we're going to press I to dive in, set the uniform scale to 3, and spacebar H just to get back out again. Now we're going to right click on this test geometry node and we're going to look for a match size. And we're going to place that down. Now we're just going to change the justify Y to min. So that's gonna, you can see there's a shadow of where our toy is going to be. That's just going to make sure that our toy is above the grid rather than, caught in between the negative and positive spaces. And so spacebar H once more to center ourselves, and now we can move on to step number 2. So now we're just going to right click on the output of our match size node and type in points. And we're looking for points from volume. So points from, and we're just going to place that right there. And we're going to set its display flag so we can just focus on it. And now we're going to press S within our view. And we're just going to press S and press the number 2 to get point selection. And we want to select all points, so let's press N. And you can see that's highlighted all the points within our shape. So spacebar H because everything was looking kind of wacky. And now we move on to step 3. We're going to go back up to the object level and we're just going to rename this guy. We're going to rename it into rubber toy. And now we're going to press shift on our single brick and on rubber toy. So we're going to hold down shift and click on both. Then we're going to go up to modify. You can see I already have modify open here, and we're just going to click on combine. And now you can see that we have another network. It's automatically combined our 2 previous object nodes. It's combined them into this aggregate. And all of that comes out of this right here at the bottom, our display merge node. And so now we can move on to step number 4. First things first, we're just going to delete this node. And so now our poly bevel chain is the one displaying. And so within the PDF, they just want to inform us that Houdini lets us choose which node we want to display. And that would be the node that will be visible when we go back to the object level. So what they mean by that is we can choose to display poly bevel 1 or points for volume 1. You can choose either really. And when we go back up to the object level, that's going to be the chain that's displaying. So when we look at single brick 1, in reality, we're looking at poly bevel 1. That's what's displaying. So that's what they're explaining in step 4. Now we can go on to step 5. So now we're going to press spacebar H just to see what we're working with here. So we're outputting at poly bevel 1. We're going to right click on the output and type in copy. And we're looking for copy to points. So we're just going to click on the copy to points node and put it down there. So as you can see, copy to points takes in 2 inputs. So we're just going to drag it down here, set its display flag, and then we're going to turn on its pack and instance parameter. Now you see that there's an error here, and if we read it, we can see that there's not enough sources specified. That's because copy to points needs 2 inputs. So what we're going to do is move on to step 6, and we're just going to drag from points from volume. We're just going to connect these 2. So now I'm just going to spacebar H to see what we're looking at. and you can see that we've got our toy. It's lagging a little bit, but you can see that we've got our toy and we've got the bricks pretty much copied on every point. So earlier when we were selecting the points with the select tool, we were selecting every point within this object, and then we said, hey Houdini, I would like you to take that point that we made earlier, that little box. I'd like you to take that box that we poly extruded and we changed to make it to a little Lego block, and then I want you to combine it with the volume, which is over here on the right side. I want you to combine it with the volume in order to give me one Lego block, or one Houdini block, since these aren't really Legos, one Houdini block per point that we've gotten from our volume. So we're just copying each Houdini block onto each point that's within our little shape here. Okay, so now the instructions tell us to go back to the points from volume node, so up here, and we're just going to change this to point separation. We're going to change that to 0.2. And so now you can see that where before we had a couple overlapping blocks, if I Control Z, you can see that we have some blocks that are overlapping with each other. Like if we zoom in over here, you can see that these blocks are clearly taking up each other's space. So we're changing that separation to 0.2 so that you can see each. Whoop. So now you can see that each block has its own clear and defined area on this object. So spacebar H, just to get back to home view, we've made our point separation, and now we can go on to step 7. So we're just going to click on the copy to points node to look at the parameter pane up here in the top right. And so according to the PDF, some of the bricks may appear dark gray and don't display the proper brick. So I'm looking for any dark gray pieces, but I can't say I see any, but just for safety's sake, we're going to go on with this step anyways. And in case you do see any dark gray spots, hopefully this will fix your problem. So we're just going to go to the display settings and fix it up. So spacebar D within our viewport, and we're going to go over to the optimize tab, and we're going to set our scene polygon limit to a number greater than 50 million, or just turn off distance based patch geometry culling. So that was already off, which is why we probably didn't see any gray spots. So if we turn it back on and view our geometry again, do any gray spots appear? It doesn't look like it, but you know, again, just for safety, we're just going to turn that off. Alright, and now we go on to step 8. So for step 8, this is actually a really cool thing that I didn't know until I started doing this project. You can repack your trees to make them more manageable. So in this case, we're just gonna drag a box around this left tree, and we're gonna press Shift O. And now you can see that we've got a little window. We're gonna double click the top of that window to name it, and we're just gonna name it single brick. Enter, and then we can collapse that window. And so now if we go back to a home view and drag it down to the bottom, and then home view again, you can see that this tree is much smaller, much more manageable, and within this single brick are all these parameters and nodes that we've added to the tree. But instead of taking up a massive amount of space, it's just right there. And so now we're just going to Control S to save our work, and that's the end of this tutorial. So I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.